Hey YouTube, this is Pat for This Land Boughton, coming at you with some informations and what I hope is a useful guide for purchasing a kukri. What you see before you are two kukris, handmade in Nepal, more traditional styling and manufacturing techniques. There are kukri-like machetes. They're called KLOs, kukri-like objects, that can be found from Kershaw, Ontario, Cold Steel, Condor Tool, Knife and Tool Company. And those are kukris that are available and are not quite traditional kukris. They have thinner spines, longer blades, they're much lighter. And the thing about those particular kukri manufacturers is they do them with more consistent machine technology, so you will tend to get a more consistent knife and typically a stronger service warranty than with most of the other kukri manufacturers out of Nepal. But with that, those particular knives are missing that sort of something that makes a kukri so special. And I would say that the only makers out of those companies I just named that make a genuine kukri would be Cold Steel with their Gurkha kukri and Condor Knife and Tool with their heavy duty kukri, where they are a little stubbier and much fatter spines and more heavy duty chopping tools that you will see with most of your kukri manufacturers. There are others out there that would disagree with what I just said, but understand that the heavy duty and the Gurkha kukri are closer to a traditional kukri than any of the other kukri-like objects out there from other manufacturers. So with that said, let's get down to it. The manufacturers that I think you will find are the most highly regarded and consistent with quality and warranty out there are going to be Tora Blades and Himalayan Imports. I do not own either of them. I have not owned either of them. I'm merely conveying information from the forums that I've been on. But those manufacturers are easily the top of the line two manufacturers out there for handmade kukris in the traditional manner out of Nepal. Either one of those, you can never go wrong purchasing any one of their knives. They have two different styles and techniques towards making their, or design approaches, I should say, where Tora is much more traditional, much more old school style designs. They are lighter, thinner, some of them are shorter, they vary, mind you. And Himalayan Imports definitely goes for a rugged, durable, thicker spined, heavier duty kukri, and those are just two different approaches to the very same high quality making process that they use, and I think ultimately it comes down to what you want out of your kukri. Either way, you're going to spend a whole lot of money on one and you're not going to be disappointed, as far as I can tell. Followed shortly behind Himalayan Imports and Tora is the Kukri House International, or KHHI. That is where I got this particular kukri about 5 years ago. This knife has been with me for 5 years, seen long, heavy use, and has been a great companion to me, and I love it. One thing to take caution about when observing the kukri materials you're looking at is to understand the environment to which you are bringing your new kukri. This was made in Nepal. It is hot and it is humid, and this handle is buffalo horn. It got shipped to me in central Washington in the desert and rain shadow of the Cascade, behind the Cascade Mountains, where it is hot and dry, super arid, talking negative humidity, if that's even possible. Sometimes I feel like it is. This, I did not think about it carefully enough, care about it deeply enough, and had I taken the time to treat this handle properly, let it acclimate, put mineral oil on it regularly, and treat it like it ought to have been treated, I would not have these cracks running down the sides in 3 different places along my Kukri handle. I went out, immediately started using it. After 3 or 4 heavy strokes, it began cracking. You can kind of see it's been poorly sanded and glued together, and this is still holding on strong. The glue they use inside, made out of sap and ash, is a very strong glue, and it's holding on fine to the rat tang inside. Peened at the end here with a pommel plate. This is a more traditional style Kukri. The handle is thinner. It swells out at the back to give you protection from slipping out while swinging. One issue I find with this particular handle style is I have gigangus American sausage finger hands, and the thinness of this blade or handle for how much blade I have is not enough, I don't think. And while this knife has served me faithfully and consistently for years, this has been a continuous struggle learning how to properly hold this with my big ape hands. I wear a size large to extra large glove depending on where you go, and this is the struggle I have here. Something to think about. This is also a rat tang. So the knife blade does run all the way through the back, but it tapers down towards the end. Something to think about, something to be aware of. Most of your traditional handmade Kukri styles will be a rat tang on a bone or wood handle. Although, as I understand, they're having troubles with the water buffalo horns in Nepal, so you may have a harder time finding one with the bone handle, or it'll just cost more. Blade is about 10 inches long. It's got a relatively thin belly and a slightly extra longer inner cutting space here than compared to this guy, which I'll show you here in a sec. And I enjoy that for feather sticking, small woodworking, and carving, and I think that's very useful. This is an edge you would keep at a sharper edge than, say here, your sweet spot for heavy-duty chopping and cutting. Moving on to the scabbard. The scabbard has same scabbard all the way through and through, slides out nice and easy, locks in well when pushed forward the way they're designed to work, and I'm happy with the scabbard. Here, this is where a lot of people struggle when purchasing Kukris, are your Karda and Chakmak. For me, they didn't come out being immediately useful tools, and as I understand, most people have that problem with them. But at the end of the day, I think that these are extremely valuable things to have on here. If you can take a file and give yourself 90 degrees on your Chakmak, this is the sharpening tool, you are going to be able to throw sparks off of a ferrocerium rod, and it legitimately, hand to God, will sharpen your Kukri. Are there better options for sharpening your Kukri? Without question. Are they easily available to you in America? Absolutely. However, it costs you nothing to get, to carry in that extra space. It will be there anyway. There's no reason to not have it. Take a file or a grinder, put an edge on the Karda, and you have a small companion blade. Are there better small companion blades or neck knives from Tops Knives or Essie or K-Bar? Absolutely. But again, this is part of the deal. It costs you nothing, and it's a package. And the thing I love about this is once you get these functional with a little extra work, I have a Wilderness one knife option. If I were told, Pat, you have one knife that you get to use forever and ever, I've talked big about the Tops Overlander 2, I would still choose this over the Tops Overlander 2. The extra weight is easily carried. The length gives me versatility for greater uses. And I have small companion blades. And this right here is a full-fledged tool package, and I love it. Now, getting on to comparing different styles and why different styles may be better or worse for you, we have here the AEOF, or Afghan Enduring Operation Freedom Kukri from the ex-Gurkha Kukri House, or EGKH. This is a knife design that, according to all the sources, was a collaboration between Kukri houses and Gurkhas serving in Afghanistan because they wanted a knife that was more suited to the environment. I've not been able to find information beyond that and why it mattered, but I was drawn to it because here in Yakima is a military training base where nearly every soldier, American or internationally, that has gone to Afghanistan or Iraq has trained in central Washington. We have the exact same environment as Afghanistan. Mountainous, deserts, hot, arid. It's the same. That's why they train here. And so I thought, well, I'm a wilderness outdoors junkie, and if this was designed specifically to serve in that same kind of environment, I should have it. It makes sense. That's one reason I was drawn to it. The other is this handle style is a little bit more like a traditional and standard American style handle. Something you would find on an American or European knife. So it's just kind of a little more comfortable to use. You can see here it fills my palm a little better. I have more room on the back. It doesn't swell out as much compared to the traditional bone handle, but it doesn't need to because I've got a little extra grip here. I've got a choil to prevent thrusting onto the blade, and since it's fatter, I get a better grip on it, and I love that. One of the things too, though, is again back to the environment. This is a rosewood handle. It's still shrank, and you can see, you might be able to tell, I had to grind the handle metal down because as it shrank and constricted, I was left with this lip of metal sticking up from the handle scales, and it was super uncomfortable. Keep that in mind when you're buying a kukri from Nepal. This is a thing you may face. Back to the notion of the fact that they're handmade, this knife came with some problems. This one here. This one, other than my own problems, none. This one from EGKH, absolutely. For one, I had to rehammer and file down one of the handle pins because it was loose and poking out. It also, right here, typically kukris do not have this little extra pokey bit. I decided that's not too big of a problem. I actually kind of enjoy it. It helps with, detailed work, and it's kind of nice, but that's not a typical feature on a kukri tip. And you saw that I did not have the traditional sheath, and it's not because I don't like the traditional sheath. I, in fact, like it very much. It's because when this arrived, the sheath was so tight around the blade that it took all of my strength to remove the blade from the scabbard. And then when I went to go put it back in its scabbard, I had to push so hard that I punched the knife through the back of the scabbard, making it useless, as if it wasn't already. So I ended up making my own sheath for it. It's a right-hand carry versus your standard left-hand carry option on traditional scabbard, and I'm pretty satisfied with this whole package now. But I had to put effort into it, and that's one of the things you have to understand if you're buying a handmade kukri from Nepal, is a risk you're going to take. Now, is that risk worth it? Absolutely. Totally worth it, because these are such fantastic tools. Now let's go to the differences here. Aside from the handle and the fact that there's a tang difference, the full tang option here versus the rat tang option here, you can see there's a length difference. This is a longer blade. The belly width, this is a wider, fatter blade. And the spine width, this is again a fatter blade. With that, this is a much heavier blade. You'll find with most of your traditional, truly traditional kukris, they're not going to exceed 1.5 pounds. And that's even with your pretty long ones, 15-inch blade type styles. This guy's probably about 1 pound or so with a 10-inch blade. This guy's pushing 2 pounds, if not more. That is a positive when it comes to chopping, splitting, and processing wood and doing heavier duty tasks. Same with that spine width. It is a disadvantage when it comes to extended use because it's so much heavier. You know, you're looking at in a knife package the same weight as some of your small wilderness axes, and that's, you know, if that seems ridiculous to you, then get an axe. If that's more useful to you, that's a call onto your own. But this is in a similar weight class as small wilderness axes. It's less fatiguing than it could be to use because this handle is much larger and more comfortable and easier to hold. But it does, the extra length and the extra heft does limit some of its versatility until you get used to having that extra weight. This guy, with all of its size and everything else, I found that I really enjoy carrying this with one of those other small companion blade options, like a Tops MSK 2.5 or a Cold Steel Fin Wolf, some small Scandi grind for woods use. And I think it's a perfect package, to be honest. And if I didn't have one of those small knives, I could still get away with just about everything with this one tool. But I don't have to, so I'm not going to. Lanyard hole, no lanyard hole. Differences, things to consider. Does that matter to you? Does it not? If you are looking for a heavy-duty chopper, wilderness blade, something you don't want to carry an axe, you want something that is versatile but will be stand up to any and all punishment, survival scenario, something like this I think is a perfect option for you. If you want a kind of single blade option, general utility, all-purpose knife, top chopping, minor carving, even game processing and food prep, this knife right here, something with more traditional style, lighter weight, thinner spine, thinner belly, shorter blade, is going to be a fantastic knife for you. A lot of folks struggle with the idea between a rat tang and a full tang through the handle. I've not had a problem with this. Most people don't have problems with this, the rat tang, and I think ultimately it's not going to be a problem for you should you choose that option. If you're worried about it, full tang options are out there. They're available. That does add weight, but it helps also with the balance of the blade as well. And you know, there's no reason not to have either one. That's kind of a personal choice. I wouldn't discourage you one way or the other. Let me see. What else am I trying to cover here? I think those are kind of your basics. When it comes to the manufacturers and all the varying different styles, I would urge caution when looking at some of the more gimmicky kinds of knives. Tora and Himalayan imports really only have 2 or 3 different styles of kukris, and I think there's a reason for that, and it's that those styles of kukris have been made for thousands of years and are still being made because they're just right. You know, it's that Goldilocks kind of style. And there are other options that may be just right for you, but beware of the nonsense and the gimmick options where they're just trying to sell you something new and exciting and macho and manly. If you want a genuine, honest, heavy-duty tool, I'd stay closer to your more traditional designs. So there you have it. These are both great knives. I'm happy with both of them for very different reasons. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And be sure to like it if you like it, and subscribe, and we'll see you out there. Good luck.